Hey folks, Eric RagingLevine here, back with another Commander deck tech. This time we're going to be taking a look at one of the commanders from the new Commander 2020 decks, Kathril Aspect Warper. Kathril costs 2, a white, a black, and a green for a 3/3 legendary Nightmare Insect. When it enters the battlefield, put a flying counter on any creature you control if a creature card in your graveyard has flying. Repeat this process for First Strike, Double Strike, Death Touch, Hexproof, Indestructible, Lifelink, Menace, Reach, Trample, and Vigilance. Then put a +1/+1 counter on Kathril for each counter put on a creature this way. So, here's what we want to do with Kathril. We want to fill our graveyard with awesome creatures that it can scavenge abilities from. And once we've done that, we want to play Kathril, slam a bunch of counters on it, and attack for a lot of commander damage, or slam a bunch of counters on another creature. To do that, we're going to support Kathril with reanimation effects, blink effects, and ways to fill the graveyard with awesome creatures. Let's take a look at the deck list. Playing white gives us access to these 8-mana monstrosities that bring just a ton of great keyword abilities to the table. Zatalpa, of course, contributing the all-important Double Strike and Indestructible alongside Flying, Vigilance, and Trample. And Akroma and Avacyn are no slouches either. Of course, these are 8-mana creatures, which is going to make reanimating them all the sweeter when we dump them into our graveyard and finally bring them back. Anything with 3 or more keyword abilities that are set off by Kathril is pretty good. 2, pretty good as well in the case of Questing Beast, which of course cannot contribute haste because Kathril does not have that option. The other 3 here all contributing 3 keyword counters. Mythic Angels, of course, are a great source of keyword abilities. Giselle of the Broken Blade, Angel of Invention, and Baneslayer Angel, all pretty good just to cast, but even better when Kathril can take advantage of all those sweet keywords. Speaking of making the most of keywords, these 3 creatures are some of the best in that category. Majestic Muriarch, of course, getting the abilities of other creatures, Audric spreading other creatures' abilities around to your team, and Cairn Wanderer picking up abilities including protection from the graveyard. Speaking of the graveyard, we're going to need to fill that up, and that's what these creatures are here to do. Splinter Fright fills it every upkeep. Satyr Wayfinder does it just the one time, but gets you a land. Skull Prophet can either give you mana or self-mill, and Underrealm Lich turns any card draw into an opportunity to self-mill, and gives you card selection in the bargain. Of course, it wouldn't be an Abzan deck that relied on the graveyard if we didn't pull from the Golgari suite of keyword abilities. Dredge and Surveil both making appearances here. 3 fantastic dredgers, the real top-of-the-line options, alongside Doom Whisperer, which lets us turn our life total into a resource that we can use to self-mill. And rounding out the creatures, we have this all-star, Slippery Bogbonder, can take all those counters that Kathril put on itself or something else and move them around along with a hexproof counter in the bargain that will save one of our very powerful creatures. Let's move on to the non-creature spells. We've got Selective Adaptation, another card from the Precon, just like Slippery Bogbonder was. Selective Adaptation, of course, looks at the top 7, lets us put one of them into play, the rest into the hand as long as they are creatures, and we can sort of piece them together through this keyword puzzle, and anything else goes in the graveyard, which is where we want a lot of things anyway. A couple of powerful artifacts can really make Kathril shine. The Ozolith, of course, taking those counters from our creatures when they do die, and believe me, they will die, and sending them forward in time to future generations of creatures. Panharmonicon, allowing us to get maximum value out of Kathril's trigger by ideally letting us put those fun counters on other creatures rather than just Kathril, because 2 hexproof counters or 2 flying counters on Kathril not going to do a lot. Blinking Kathril is one of the best ways to spread keyword abilities around your team. Ephemerate, Cloud Shift, and Conjurer's Closet all here to help do just that. Shifting from blinking Kathril into protecting the team, Eerie Interlude actually does both, while Teferi's protection just safely phases everything out. People talk a lot about Orzhov and its power level in Commander, but nobody ever had a bad thing to say about the removal it provides. Swords to Plowshares, Utter End, and D-Spark, some of the best you can find. I only wanted 2 Wraths in this deck list, considering we're spending just so much time and energy making these creatures happen, so Dune Blast and Austere Command let us be a little selective about what does and does not get destroyed. This could also be a good deck for Divine Reckoning and the like, but I chose a different route. That may interest you, though, if you're making your own Kathril build that's a little bit different from this one. Green has a surprising wealth of powerful draw spells. Rishkar Expertise, drawing on the power of our creatures to let us draw, and provides an extra spell cast in the bargain, while Harmonize is just plain good. And here's the start of that Reanimation engine. Beacon of Unrest can pull from anybody's graveyard, but most likely ours. Reanimate, of course, pulling from any graveyard as well, really helping us cheat on mana at the cost of life. Unburial Rites, one of the standouts in this deck, because even if it gets milled itself, you can still flash it back. Stitched Together, of course, we're going to have Threshold a lot of the time in this deck with all of that self-mill, and there's more to come, believe me. Victimize, letting us trade 1 creature for 2, and Rescue from the Underworld sends 1 creature on a journey to bring another 1 back. Filling up the graveyard some more here with Grisly Salvage, Commune with the Gods, and Mulch, some of the best 2-mana spell-based options for bolstering our graveyard. And here are some permanents that also do a great job. Perpetual Timepiece not only helps self-mill, but can also save cards that are about to get exiled out of the graveyard, put them back into the library where they can be found, milled, cast again. Altar of Dementia can be a self-mill vehicle, or it can be a way to kill opponents in the later game, sacrifice Kathril to it, and use those +1/+1 counters to do a whole mess of mill. Death's Oasis, of course, taking advantage of the deaths of our creatures to continue to mill us and return creatures to our hand. Deadbridge Chant, a really efficient self-mill card that also does some reanimation sometimes. We've got a pretty standard set of mana rocks here. Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Chromatic Lantern, Commander's Sphere, alongside Golgari Signet, Orzhov Signet, and Selesnya Signet. A pretty standard setup for a 3-color deck. The Great Henge also getting played here. We're going to have a very powerful commander. Kathril's going to have a lot of +1/+1 counters, so why not take advantage of that, get a cost reduction on the Great Henge, get it in play, and add some more +1/+1 counters and card draw to the mix. We've also got some of the more powerful green ramp spells, Farseek, Kodama's Reach, and Cultivate, all making an appearance. Let's get into the land. We are playing quite a few colorless only lands, so I've really juiced up the mana base. We've got fetch lands, we've got all kinds of expensive stuff. If your mana base for this deck is less expensive, and there's no problem with that, of course, you got to play within your budget. That is very important. If your mana base is a little less expensive, just consider dropping some of these colorless lands, adding more basics. Nesting Grounds, moving counters around, helping us put ability counters where they're needed. Gavany Township, just beefing up the whole team. Some more lands that fill up the graveyard. Grimback's Woods, a little expensive, but when you need it, you need that card draw. High Market and Phyrexian Tower really serving to just put something in the graveyard when it needs to be there for a marginal gain. And Dackmore Salvage, well, when your graveyard's big, make it bigger. Bojuka Bog, exiling someone else's graveyard. Strip Mine and Ghost Quarter dealing with pesky non-basics. And Reliquary Tower here, just in case we manage to draw too many cards. We're really going to be leaning on these tri-color lands here, especially the fetchable Indatha Triome. It's very nice. Don't forget about Command Tower, Sandstep Citadel, Exotic Orchard, Overgrown Tomb, Godless Shrine, and Temple Garden. All of these lands, really good color fixers. The temples are also great color fixers, and as a bonus, they are wonderful at smoothing out draws. The bounce lands from Ravnica aren't quite as good as smoothing out draws. They can be a little disruptive in the opening hand and early on, but where they really shine is in adding 2 colors of mana that you might not have had quite enough of. The check lands, of course, keying off the Triome, keying off the shock lands, a couple of other typed lands, as well as a few basics. the fetch lands, going and getting Indatha Triome is huge, and getting the shock lands already pretty good. It wouldn't be a Raging Levine mana base if it didn't have some cycling type lands. Scattered Groves, of course, the only one here with real cycling. Nurturing, Peatland, and Silent Clearing are here from the Modern Horizons Canopy Lands cycle to turn into cards when they're not needed. Rounded out with 6 basics, 2 of each or more if your mana base is not as specified, and you've got a deck. You can check out the whole list at bit.ly/RagingLevine. Kathril, make sure to put those capital letters in the proper places. Check out the whole deck list. I hope you like it. And of course, if you want to see a particular type of deck, if you want to see another kind of thing, whatever you want to see, there's something you want to see. You probably want to see things on this YouTube channel, I imagine. Leave a comment, press the cool buttons, subscribe. There's a thumbs up too. I don't really know what that does, but it makes me feel nice when I see it. So just go ahead and press the cool buttons. Leave a comment. Let me know what you want to see out of the next Deck Tech. I am, of course, Raging Levine, and I'll see you again with more Commander Deck Techs very soon.